Today, in this video presentation, we are going to discuss a very important procedure under GST, which we technically call as reply to Form ASMT 10 discussion on law and procedure. So friends, ASMT 10 is basically is a notice, you can say, which basically intimates the discrepancies in the returns filed by a taxable person. So today we are going to deep dive into the legal aspects of Form ASMT 10, and a discussion shall be made on the law and the procedure relating to Form ASMT 10. So friends, I welcome you all to this video presentation. I am Vinod Kaushik, and let's start the discussion. So our agenda for the next 30 minutes shall be to take the overview of ASMT 10 notices. Secondly, we are going to discuss the law relating to notices in ASMT 10. That is, we are going to discuss section 61, which is very important to understand word by word. Thirdly, we are going to take a tour of some of the notices or the situations wherein ASMT 10 can be issued. The technical aspect of understanding the notice first before making any kind of reply to the authorities, when and what to reply in ASMT 11, preparation of reply. I'm going to give you some practical and important tips, common mistakes which can be avoided while replying to the notices, and show you that how the reply can be made, and then we will have some question and answers. So friends, the overview of ASMT 10. ASMT 10 is a notice which is issued in a situation when there is some discrepancy in various returns filed by the taxable person on the common portal. So the objective of issuance of Form ASMT 10 is to avoid any severe consequences in the form of departmental audit, search, inspection, etc., etc. So ASMT 10 is a, you can say, is a very primary investigation. Primary basically investigation started by the department whenever they find any kind of discrepancies between the returns filed by a taxable person. So let me give you one example. Suppose a taxable person has filed his GSTR 1 wherein he has shown some taxable turnover of say 2 crore rupees, whereas in GSTR 3B that taxable person has shown a taxable turnover of say 1 crore 50 lakh rupees. So you can say prima facie there is a difference of 50 lakh rupees in terms of returns filed by a taxable person, that he has filed two returns, GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. So the system of GSTN, or you can say the system of the CBIC, may detect such discrepancies and send a notice intimating such discrepancies to the taxable person in Form ASMT 10. So ASMT 10, the primary and the initial condition of issuance is that there is a discrepancy between the returns filed by a taxable person. So in this particular case that we are discussing, that there is a discrepancy between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, and due to that discrepancy, friends, there is short payment of there is a short payment of tax on taxable turnover of 50 lakh rupees. That you can say if the tax rate is 18%, technically there is a short payment of 9 lakh rupees plus interest accordingly. So the objective of this discussion is to understand the situations wherein Form ASMT 10 can be issued. And this is basically this ASMT 10 is basically issued when there is some discrepancies. The officer may physically scrutinize my returns, or the department can implement some system checks wherein they can find these inconsistencies and shortcomings and send an intimation to me. so that I can reply. So let's continue the example, earlier example of GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. When the taxable person, whenever he receives that notice intimating discrepancies, taxable persons can make reply to that ASMT 10 in ASMT 11. For ASMT 11, the taxable person, if the difference is genuine and the taxable person is able to explain that difference, that the differential turnover of 50 lakh rupees was shown by him in the next month return, or you can say the subsequent return. So this can be the reply of ASMT 10 that the discrepancies mentioned by the department in ASMT 10 was very well rectified in the subsequent return or the next return to the subsequent return, and accordingly this ASMT 10 need to be dropped, and this need to be dropped in form ASMT 12. So this is the discrepancy mentioned in the ASMT 10. Now let's discuss. Let's read section 61 word by word. 61 says, friends, the proper officer may scrutinize the returns and related particulars furnished by the registered person to verify the correctness of return and inform him of the discrepancies noticed, if any, in such manner as may be prescribed, and seeks his explanation thereto. Very, very important. 61 subsection 1 is very, very critical and important, friends. The proper officer may scrutinize the return and related particulars furnished by the registered person. The initial condition, friends, is that the proper officer has to scrutinize the returns before sending notice in ASMT 10, and this is, you can say, very, very important. The officer need to devote some time to scrutinize my returns first before sending any kind of notices. And if he is not able to scrutinize the return and on his whims and fancy, he sends ASMT 10, that ASMT 10 is per se void and not valid. The scrutiny of return need to be made first. He can scrutinize my returns manually if he wants so, or he can use that system tools, the data mining, the data reports available in the GSTN or the CBIC system. So the first step is to scrutinize the returns and related particulars. Related particular, you can say the particulars which are filed along with the returns. So the first subsection is clear that the primary step is to scrutinize the returns. Second says, in case the explanation is found acceptable, the registered person shall be informed accordingly and no further action shall be taken in this regard. If the explanation of discrepancies or the inconsistencies are explained very well and they are justified, the officer is required to drop the proceedings in ASMT 12. The reply in ASMT 11 is filed and ASMT 12 need to be issued. But practically, we are dealing a number of ASMT 10s wherein the officers are not issuing ASMT 12 for the reason best known to them. So, our responsibility as a taxable person, as an advisor, is to file a proper and legal reply to the ASMT 10 so that tomorrow, whenever a show cause notice is issued on the basis of the investigation started through ASMT 10, that can be challenged, that can be replied with, that the primary investigation was not properly started. So we have to file a proper and the legal reply to ASMT 10 in every case. This is our advice. And the third subsection says, 61(3) says, in case no satisfactory explanation is furnished within a period of 30 days of being informed by the proper officer of such further period as may be permitted by him, or if the registered person after accepting the discrepancies fails to take the corrective measure in his return for the months in which the discrepancy is accepted, the proper officer may initiate appropriate actions, including those under 65, 66, 67, or proceed to determine the tax under section 73 or 74. Very, very important, friends. Suppose an ASMT 10 is issued and we are not able to make a reply of that in ASMT 11 within a period of 30 days of being informed. Or if he has granted some additional time, we are not able to furnish the reply in the additional time also. Or we have accepted the discrepancies, but we are not able to discharge our tax. We are not able to take corrective actions for those discrepancies. Now the officer is given a very important powers to either start a detailed audit under section 65, a special audit under 67. He may take permission of his joint commissioner to get the permission for search and inspection under section 67. And the show cause notice can also be issued under section 73 or 74. Now let's summarize this. The officer cannot take any action through ASMT 10, 11, 12 if there is some urgency, there is some genuine differences, discrepancies, inconsistencies, then the officer is required to take these 5 measures: audit, special audit, search, inspection, or show cause notice under 73 and 74. Now, let's move to the next slide. On the screen, you can see this ASMT 10. This ASMT 10, let's read this ASMT 10 first. This says there is a mismatch of GST at 3B/2A of rupees 4,83,879.34. The mismatch is definitely, it is shown on the face of the notice that there is a mismatch of 4,83,879, and we need to make a reply of that. We scrutinized our 3B and 2A accordingly, and then we found that there was a bill of entry related to import of goods wherein we have claimed, our client has claimed an ITC of this amount, 483 something, and that import bill of entry is now it is reflected in 2B, but earlier during that time it was not reflecting in 2A. The system of IceGate and GSTN was not synchronized. So therefore, we made a justification oblique explanation to this difference to the officer, that this difference is arising due to non-synchronization of systems of GSTN and IceGate, and therefore this ASMT 10 need to be dropped and ASMT 12 ought to be issued. Surprisingly, though my reply is on merits, but still ASMT 12 is not issued to the reasons best known to my officers. So this, the objective of showing you the notice is that though this notice in ASMT 10 is a valid notice because it is technically mentioning the discrepancies, but we have a justified explanation for those discrepancies. ASMT 10, when it can be issued, I told you earlier, whenever there is a difference between the returns or related particulars furnished by us, and those can be 3B versus GST of 1, 3B versus 2A, 3B versus 2B, GST 9, 9C, etc., GST 7, TCS reports, etc., etc. So it can be issued in the situations where there is any kind of discrepancy, and that discrepancy may tantamount to short payment of output tax or excess claim of input tax credit or erroneous refunds, etc., etc. So now the strategy is to give you insights on how to understand notice first. Start understanding notice first, my friends. It is very essential to first understand the notice to which the reply has to be submitted. Notice has to be in a proper form, but issued by a proper authority, issued with a DIN, and matches with the objective of statute under which it is issued. Let me tell you the practical examples of this. Proper authority means the circular number 3 issued by the CBIC and accordingly the state governments also. There is a mechanism of, there is a hierarchy of system wherein everyone cannot do every act. Some of the critical acts need to be done by the senior officers. And the show cause notices, the summons and the ASMT and etc. are generally issued by the superintendents, or you can say GSTOs or assistant commissioners. So every time we need to check the authority who is issuing that form. We need to check the proper form also. And in case of central GST, we need to verify the DIN also. DIN is a document identification number, and every offline document need to bear a DIN, my friends, and that DIN we need to check on the CBIC website. I was attending one of the conference wherein one of the commissioner of CBIC who is dealing with the system told that now the DIN has been they are improving the functionality of DIN, and now when we verify the DIN, you get the massive information of the taxpayer, like the name of taxpayer, the GSTN, the section under which the DIN is issued, etc., etc. Again, it was not there. Now, if you verify any kind of DIN, it can be verified. The details can also be verified. The starting initial characters of the name, the GST number, etc., are verifiable. So we have seen some of the instances wherein ASMT 10 can be seen without having any discrepancy, but a long list of document is being asked. Let's make a detailed analysis of any such notice which is bad in law, no mismatch, no discrepancies given the notice. Now I'm showing that notice to you. See on your screen. This is a notice wherein can you identify, can you trace any kind of discrepancy in this notice, ASMT 10, my friends? This ASMT 10 is technically a bad notice in law because we have read the verbatim of 61(1), which started with that the officer need to scrutinize the returns, and if there is discrepancy between the returns and the related particular files, then only ASMT 10 can be issued. Now, in this case, my officer, with due regards to him, is trying to conduct the audit through ASMT 10. So this cannot be done. My request to all the officers that if you want to start audit under 65, please take prior approval from the assistant commissioner so that audit under section 65 can be started. ASMT 10 is not the right kind of provision in the statute where the audit can be started without a due process. For audit, there is a due process. You have to issue ADT 01, you have to get the documents, you need to start the audit. If you want to access the business premises, you need to move section 71, wherein the consent of the joint commissioner need to be taken. So ASMT 10, wherein no discrepancy is given, we advise strictly not to reply to that notices in the manner they want you to reply. For these kind of notices, we have a simple standard reply that this ASMT 10 is not able to explain what are the discrepancies in my returns. Accordingly, this notice need to be dropped, and fresh notice can be issued wherein the officer is required to mention the detailed discrepancies which he has identified during the scrutiny of my returns. You can see there is a long list of documents wherein the officer is trying to seek my information. So what is the cycle of a GST notice? Notice issued in ASMT 10. Post that, audit, search, shock cause notice can be started. If my officer is, so first of all, ASMT 10 is issued, I make some explanations, etc. My explanations and justifications, if he accepts, he can issue ASMT 12. If not able to digest my explanations, then he can start the audit, he can start my search, he can start the show cause notice under 73 or 74. So this is the life cycle of a ASMT 10. When and what to reply? Reply has to be there in every case, friends. You need not to keep a silence, or you need not to be silent every time whenever you receive a notice. Notice issued by the department must not remain unattended, but content of reply can be drafted based on the type and the quality of the notice. If any notice in ASMT 10 is genuinely specifying the mismatch, it can be replied with reconciliation sheets. In case a notice fails to specify about mismatch or shortcomings, it does not stay a valid notice, but reply also to be made in this case. And we are giving you a standard reply to that. This can be standard reply that I have reviewed the notice and I would like to inform you that I do not see any discrepancies mentioned in Form ASMT 10. So it is very pertinent to mention that notice under 61 is issued in cases when there is any discrepancies in the returns file. This is the, you can say, the Ramban. There is no discrepancies in the return file, and the careful review of both the documents does not mention any discrepancies in the returns file for above period. And we have quoted 61.1 also, wherein this is the manner of the reply. And if there is still issue, you can issue me a separate notice. Don't let any notice unattended. Even if it is defective, the reply has to be there. Never ever become so defensive that you admit being guilty even if no such allegations, evidences are produced in that notice. Stay strong, reply on merits, don't disrespect officers, give your reply on merits, explain the law, rules, surplus notifications. So now we have come to an end of the discussion on ASMT 10, the practical tips, law and procedures. If you have still any kind of query pertaining to ASMT 10, section 61, subsection 1, you can make an email to me. The email is given on the screen. You can connect with me on my YouTube channel. You can post your comments also. I will try to reply all the comments. You can connect with me on my Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn also. And with this, I conclude this video presentation, and I hope you like this presentation and it has added some of the value. Thank you very much for watching this. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.